Hey, fellow Star Citizens, this is Star Wolf, and welcome to Wolfpack. This is a Star Citizen podcast. I'll be your host this week, and today I'm joined by Drevin and CanadianEgg. Drevin, how's your week been?
It's been all right. Been kind of busy. A lot of the snow the last couple weeks been affecting my schedule, but it's going all right.
We've had a little bit of snow here too. CanadianEgg, what about you?
Not too bad, just making my way through life.
Awesome. Good. And the topic that we're going to hit this week is going to be, will PvP ruin the game? So PvP and PvE they're big subjects, and to smush them together the way that Star Citizen is going to do, I would hope they're going to do this right, and we'll have to see when they implement it if they are on the right track. But so far from what we've heard from Chris Roberts himself on the subject, very positive, and I'm looking forward to how they're gonna complement both sides of this coin, because I'm not personally a huge PvPer, but I do like having it in the game if it's done right. So we're gonna get into that subject. So let's just jump right into the hunt, and I'm gonna start us off with our first topic. Are PvP players going to ruin the game for PvE players? So I was talking to my wife about this question actually earlier because I wanted to get some other people's opinions on this. And the only real game that she played hardcore for a while that was PvP was WoW. She played that game, and she actually did try a PvP server, and just to try it out and see what it was about. And she told me, like, her experience was, I'm not a PKer. That's not what I do. So for me, I was just going through the game like I would on the PvE server, except I would just get randomly, jumped on the side of the street and killed, and then spawn killed over and over again. And that was my experience with PvP, and that was it. That's all it added to the game. And for her, that just was like, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to play a game that frustrates the crap out of me, and that's all it does? So she just jumped back to PvE because she felt like she just couldn't play the game. Like, she just wanted to play the game and have the PvE experience, and the PvP experience it's just added absolutely nothing for her. And I can sympathize. I mean, unless you're a PKer, the only other reason you'd kind of want to be in that scenario is the thrill, of there could possibly be bandits on the road, and, I'll have to defend myself. So that's the only other option I see is really, compelling for that WoW-based PvP style. Other than, when you go into the arenas and doing, like, formatted PvP play. So that's her experience with WoW. And the takeaway that I get out of that is, the more power and influence you give to players in a combative scenario, the more they're going to abuse it. Okay? And I just feel that's the culture that we have on the internet at this time. The more you give to players to influence other players in a negative way, they're going to take that chance, and they're going
It's a sad truth.
yeah, they're going to spawn kill, and they're going to do that kind of trolling. So another example for a game as far as PvP goes that can ruin an experience is DayZ. Now, DayZ had quite a few interesting takes on this PvP aspect. You had no hold bars. You can do whatever you want in Cherno-Rus. You can go around and kill people if you want to, take their stuff. There's nothing stopping you. No zones and no safe spots that stop you from killing anyone anywhere you want to. So that was interesting, that way they did that. The only thing is, when you give them that kind of power to influence other people's gameplay, they're going to kill on sight. They're going to, spawn kill. People would just sit in Electro and Cherno and just snipe, new spawns just because, there's nothing else to do. I'm just going to do that to have fun. I'm not saying PvP is bad, but I am saying PvP is very hard to integrate with PvE. That's a very hard thing to do. And you can't just turn it off. You can't just have specific zones that you say, okay, PvP, we're not going to do PvP in this zone, okay? That kind of ruins the immersive feeling for me. I liked DayZ the way they had no safe zones. The safe zone is out in the middle of nowhere where you're pretty sure nobody's going to go, but there's still the possibility. I remember multiple times when there'd just be a random camper out there and we'd come across each other and we'd be like, and then you have that kind of standoff. It's like nowhere safe. And
Mexican
I like
standoff.
that. Yeah. Yeah. So like, I don't want Star Citizen to do this zone is no PvP at all. I don't want that, but also the way they're thinking of doing this is a policed area, so if you are going to engage in any kind of combat, there are massive consequences, and that brings me to the point of consequences. With these old games that I've talked about, like WoW, DayZ's not old, but DayZ is another example. When we talk about these games, there are no consequences to murdering people. In a game, you can, like DayZ, you can go kill someone and grab their beans, and there's nothing that's going to harm you from doing that. So there's just no reason not to, Same with WoW. It's like you get, what was it, renown or whatever. You got something for killing other people and a little bit of experience, I think. And so they're kind of rewarding you for, being a douchebag. And that's kind of the society in gaming that the kids are being brought up with, is like, oh yeah, let's, killing people on sight, no problem. I can be a troll if I want to, and I'm actually going to be rewarded for that. So the way I'd like to see the paradigm shift, it's not the other direction. I don't want it to be the other direction, but I want it to be like in the middle. Say, there are benefits to killing someone in Star Citizen. Sure, you could get a ship out of it, you could get cargo, whatever, you could get information, but there's got to be equal risk, There's got to be something that makes people think twice about killing, because it is you're murdering people. I mean, it's if we're taking this game seriously, and if we're trying to role play it, and we're trying to be immersed, murdering people is not a normal thing you do. And if you do it in real life, there are massive consequences, not just psychologically or societally, but just it's a life-changing experience, So I want to see them address that some way. I don't want them to just cop out and say, oh yeah, PvPers are just out here. You can go run around and shoot each other up out there if you want to. And I just want them to take care with this subject and really do it well, because it's a hard move to integrate PvP with PvE. What are your guys' thoughts on all that? I know I was talking a lot, but I'm really charged about this because I don't want them to ruin it,
Well, I don't think, whenever I talk about PvP and PvE, I always bring up a game that I think does not only that, like a lot of things very well, but does that especially well, is Dark Souls. Because it's obviously not an MMO, but everything is so fluid that it meshes PvE and PvP with the lore perfectly. How there are and people do abuse it. The Dark Wraiths invade lower level players and kill them with all high powered gear. So it does happen. So it's not perfect, but I think that it's going to actually be harder for PvP players to ruin it in Star Citizen for PvE players, because the man himself has even said that just because you put your PvP slider down to 10%, so maximized PvE, you're still going to get attacked. It just means that attacker is going to be an AI more likely than an actual player. Mm-hmm. Obviously, players will be able to do things that AI wouldn't. Like if you're down on a planet, I'm sure no AI is going to come up and shoot you in the face, but I'm sure a player might do that if he was in the right mindset. So I haven't heard anything about PvP restricted areas, because even Chris Roberts himself once again has said that he wants wars to happen. So I'm pretty sure that you could shoot anywhere. You can go down and shoot a major government official or something to start a war, right? So you could I don't think there's going to be any PvP restricted areas, and I think with all that's going to happen, it's going to be hard for PvP players to ruin it.
Ooh, I had never even thought of that, but perhaps there are going to be assassin jobs in the game. That would be pretty cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Anyway, that's kind of offshoot, but that's a cool
I've never
thought.
been one to just go out and find players to kill though. Even in DayZ, I'm just like, I'm a do not fire until fired upon sort of play style. Or if I
Yeah.
see another player kill another player and they don't see me, I'm like, well, you deserve this, and then just pick them off from a distance.
Yeah. Cool. Well, before we moved on, did you have anything else, Trevin, that you want to jump in and talk about?
I think you guys hit most of it. I guess the one thing I would touch on about PvP versus PvE is like if you think about World of Warcraft and DayZ, like there is no actual structure to like DayZ for example, there's no policing force, there's no, military or anything like that. Then you come to a game like Star Citizen where there are going to be UE controlled areas. Now, you can PvP in them. They mentioned that before. The only thing is, you'd have to worry about, military or police forces and stuff like that. And then also the whole advent of the bounty system, which you don't have in either World of Warcraft or DayZ. Now, the fact that, yeah, say you do all these nefarious things and, you're killing players, you're doing all that, well, your bounty's going up. And the players can even set bounties on you as well. So that can, I mean, think of it if like 3 people throw a bounty on you, all of a sudden people are like, well, that's 3 times the check I get. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on how they really do the bounty hunting system. I could almost see it like if you get a dead or alive one and they actually kill you, I think it almost should bypass the multiple lives thing where you just flat out actually die if the bounty hunter kills you. You know what I mean? And that would be your big punishment because then, your reputation will be, shot a lot. And then you'd have to work your way back up and, and all that. I
True.
think
Yeah.
that could work out. I mean, World of Warcraft PvP, yeah, that's really just there to. It's not. It doesn't actually serve a function. Is the thing. You know what I mean? In Star Citizen, the whole PvP aspect actually serves a function. Like pirates are going to pirate and they're gonna, steal your stuff or try to at least. And then there's gonna be bounty hunters going to be hunting them and stuff like that. And like you mentioned, maybe there's an assassin job. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it just gets me. It just gets me.
Riled up.
Yeah, riled up. Thank you. I was gonna say ticked. It's just I'm not ticked about it yet. Yeah, it's just I'm riled up because like I'm looking back at all these different PvP and PvE games that I've played. And Diablo 2 comes to mind. Like I remember playing that quite a bit in high school. And in fact, I had a Necro that was on like the top 10 on the ladder for Necros. But yeah, when you get up to those high levels, back then, I don't know if it's like this anymore, but back then you would lose experience. And the experience that you lose at those higher levels would knock off like hours and hours of gameplay. So if you got PK'd up there, it was like killing 5 to 10 hours of gameplay. It was insane.
Yeah.
So like that was a risk, and that kind of risk, even on the receiving side, was kind of fun and exciting. I think there's got to be huge amounts of risk involved on both ends, because like that makes it, kind of just like with DayZ. If you just don't want to get killed because you just found that night vision goggle, you just got a ghillie suit.
Don't even get me started.
You're just, you're ready, you're set, and then someone comes along and just kills you. The flip side to that is the way WoW did it. I remember playing WoW a little bit, and if you got killed, you pay like a little bit of gold. It's like it's just a exercise in frustration because it's really doing nothing but just hindering you because someone's spawn camping your body, and that's just more annoying than making me nervous or feel something other than annoyance. You just don't want your player to be frustrated. They can feel anything else, just not frustrated at the game. I'm okay with feeling very anxious about a situation. That's a good feeling to have when playing, but not frustrated. And so I think the stakes have got to be high on both ends, really.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to wrap that one up. spent maybe a little bit too much time on mine. But let's move on to you, Drevin. You had a topic, our second topic.
Yeah. My question was, what is CAG going to do to make sure that both PvPers and PvEers are happy? We kind of hit a little bit on that in the first question. I really think the virtual reality arena system is going to be pretty awesome for PvPers. It's going to be like the very arcadey system that it's like, hey, I'm in my hangar. I kind of want to just go see what all the PvPers are doing right now. So they'll hop into a match and they'll have their Call of Duty, Titanfall, or whatever type of PvP. And then there's also going to be the FPS PvP as well. So, they'll be able to do stuff like that. I don't know if they're going to bring that into the virtual reality. I would assume they would. But they did say that certain planets would have FPS combat at launch. So that's pretty interesting. And then, some people don't want to, technically be the bad guys, but still want a PvP, kind of like myself. Bounty
Yeah, same
hunting
here.
is going to be a very big thing for me. And I mean, just the whole thought of like picking up a bounty, getting in your ship, tracking them down. I did this stuff in Star Wars Galaxies and other games, and I mean, that was just the whole experience of it. Just felt me, it felt so good, and it was fun, especially when you found a hard bounty that was really hard to take down, or even one that you lost to. Because even if you lost, it's kind of like much respect because it's a challenge. I think I could even see people intentionally going to high security places and messing with people just to be able to create a high bounty. Because you think about it, like the exhilaration of always being on the run. I mean, some people would be into that, and I think that would actually be pretty cool. To sit there and try to challenge yourself and challenge other players to see how high you can get your bounty and how long you can keep your character alive.
Along with that, and I think this is going to play to your playstyle really well, is the whole difference between, as us as a bounty hunter, in games we're used to having like quest givers and say, go to this point, talk to this NPC, go to this point, talk to this NPC, and then it leads you to your bounty. Well, in Star Citizen, it's going to be, we got to follow this trail of breadcrumbs, and talking to real people and saying, hey, have you seen this guy around? Oh yeah, he's over in this system. Last hour, I think I heard someone got hit there by him, and that's gonna be really cool.
Yeah, like in Star Wars Galaxies, whenever you were a bounty hunter, you picked up a bounty from the terminal. What you would do is you'd send out your little droids, and they'd go and track down the person from planet to planet. And then when you found it, they would tell you which planet to go to. You go to the planet, and they give you approximate directions. Now, the cool thing about that was, if they knew you were coming, obviously they'd get out of dodge, or they'd probably get ready to fight you, or one or the other, and it was just an interesting system altogether. I really hope they come up with something very in-depth for bounty hunting. I mean, just the whole journey aspect of it sounds awesome.
No, now that I hear that, I really hope that once you get a bounty, you could go to say the last secure system that they were in, because obviously they're going to have some sort of security measure where they scan every ship that comes in. So
Mm.
you'd be able to pick up, like you'd be able to go and say, I'm looking for this guy, and then you'd be able to take the data from his ship scan and say if you have a Hornet tracker or just some ship that's really good at scanning, keep scanning for his independent ship signature as you're flying around and keep following the leads.
Yeah.
And so if you have a Hornet tracker, that would be really good, because then the second you find him, you can just blast your way towards him, dead on, and catch him off guard, especially if he's on transit somewhere.
Yeah. Or, just catch him in your own little Merlin, strike the fear of God in him.
You and your Merlin.
With that Merlin. Yeah. For sure. They'd have to take me seriously there.
Yeah. And I guess as for the PvEers, I mean, the PvP slider is there. They said it won't completely alleviate them from the dangers of players, but like honestly, if the thing PvEers gotta realize is, just like in WoW, there's gonna be NPCs that you're gonna fight. You know what I mean? And no matter what you do with the PvP slider, it's not gonna change the fact that your merchant run might see combat. It's just the slider only dictates, as as Canadian Egg mentioned, only dictates whether that encounter is going to be NPC or PV or player. So that's another thing. Like some of the hardcore PvEers need to understand. I've seen a lot of them on the forums like complain, like, "Well, what if I just want to do merchant runs without any conflict or anything?" I was like, "Well, I mean, that's not going to happen. I don't see that
Mhm.
happening. I mean, maybe you'll
Yeah.
have those runs where yeah, you don't run into conflict. Sure, there's going to be runs like that, but there's going to be at least a run every now and then where they're going to see combat, and it'll in their case it'll just most likely be an NPC unless they go to low security sectors, which I think that's a pretty cool lore aspect they did with the whole PvP slider. I thought that was actually pretty interesting.
Cool, cool. Well, Canadian Egg, you got our third topic, and that goes right along with, the PvP
Yep.
aspect.
So my topic is, what will most people focus on, PvP or PvE? And my take on that is, with the mentioning of a PvP slider, how if you don't want to PvP, you can make that less likely. If you want to be fighting all the time, every day, then there's the arena, or you can put that PvP slider to max. So I think with that in mind, this game is going to attract both people that like the single player experience. They don't really want much player interaction, so they just come in, do what they do. They're obviously it's an MMO, so obviously it's impossible for you to not run into players. If you want to just focus on the PvE combat, you can, unless you go out to some obscure system where no one would normally go. Like they've said that if you go out there, and you even if you have your PvP slider to the lowest, since like there's no AI out there, if there's a conflict, it's gonna be with a player. So I
Yeah,
think with that PvP slider and all the different play styles too, like if like there's play style more. I don't want to say PvP specific, but if you're a pirate, you can assume that you're looking to fight players rather than NPCs. But there's also roles that would attract more PvE and PvP. I'm sure every bounty hunter in the game is going to love to PvP.
Yeah, well, if you go to the organizations page, the one you see the least is the pirating roles. So that's maybe speaking to the player base, the community is generally shying away from this PKing type of attitude. That's a possibility. Obviously, our data is going to change by release because we're going to get probably a new community by then. People are going to filter in and going to change this whole society. But for now, I think pretty much people are kind of steering more towards the peaceable type of organizations and playstyle. So
And obviously, when the game comes out, everyone's gonna find a play style that suits them best. So some people might try the pirating aspect and they'll be like, "This is fun," because it gives them that thrill, right? So,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
kind
so
of
and obviously, there's gonna be a whack more players that actually buy the game when it comes out than backers we have now.
definitely to kind of touch on what Starwolf was saying. I think in the beginning it's primarily we're going to see more PvE than PvP because
Hmm.
all the equipment we're starting out with is low grade. So, especially the PvPers are going to be like, well, you know, maybe I actually do have to do some PvE to start getting a leg up on, gear wise or my ship wise on some of the PvEers because you sit there and you think about it as like, well, yeah, it's going to be skill based, but gear is still going to be a factor. You know what I mean? So I
Hmm.
think in the beginning there's going to be a lot of PvE activity going on, and then also like to touch up on the organizations. Yes, syndicates and pirates are kind of seeming to be on the low, but at the same time, why would you even want to declare you're going to be a pirate or a syndicate? You know what I mean? Like it makes no sense
Yes,
to go
that's
ahead and tell
true.
people a year ahead of time, like, hey guys, if you see us, we're going to be pirating. You know what I mean? Like, just put yourself as an organization and don't really say you're going to do any pirating or anything like that and make your plans. And
Yeah.
then, when you can join multiple organizations, you can have people who are spying on some of the bigger organizations. Maybe that could help them to their benefit. It really makes no sense to kind of just go ahead and list yourself as a syndicate And actually, another thing is, how does the PvE PvP slider work for a pirate?
Well, it's the same thing as it's going to work for merchants, right? Because either way, there's still going to be people that they're seeing traveling across the like. There's going to be NPC merchants that they'll be able to attack, right? That's still going to be a thing. It's
Yeah.
not like just because you're a pirate, it's going to be, oh, okay, now everyone I find is going to be a player. Most likely, because if you're pirating, obviously, you could still put your PvP slider any way you want, but I'm just going to assume that most pirates will want to actually capture players. I know if I was going to sell somebody to slavery, I would rather ruin someone's day and then rather than having it be an NPC.
No,
I'm not.
don't
I'm
say
not saying I'm
that.
going to do it. I told you I'm on the peaceful side. I'm saying if I was a pirate.
Is that so? Is
Yeah,
that so?
I see. If you were a
Don't
okay.
worry, everyone. I'm a nice person.
I
Do
might
not fire
spell
until fired
spy.
upon.
Well, I also agree with your assessment, Draven, of in the beginning we probably won't see too many PvPs because, or PKers, we'll call them, because I think in the beginning, you look at a game like DayZ, and in the beginning it was, just like, the Aladdin song. It's a whole new world, and people are exploring and kind of getting the feel of the game, and they're happy, they're engaged. And then later on, when you kind of get into the mundane, rote day-to-day activities, that's when your brain starts to be like, okay, let's spice this game up. Let's go kill someone. And that's when a lot of the PKers come out. When there's, they kind of explored their options as far as the game, and they tested the boundaries of the game. They want to do something different, and they kind of default to just interacting with other players, because that's always a different experience. That's always new and fresh. So
Well, something that I wanted to say about that was people that play through the dogfighting module in alpha and the beta, they're already going to have experience fighting. So when the full game comes out, some people might want to be, oh, well, right now everyone's building up their strength again. Everyone's going out and making as much money to upgrade their ships. While they're doing that, I can intercept them and try. Like that's, I think, people are going to because some people might think the opposite way. Some people are going to think, oh, well, I'm not going to PvP until I am better equipped. And then some people might go, well, I'm going to PvP now so people don't have the chance to get better equipped.
keep ahead of the curve.
It kind of depends on the organization. I would assume, if you look at it, I mean, there's tons and tons of merchanting organizations out there that are fairly big. And they're probably going to be, like they're already setting up squadrons and, like these people are going to be defending us while we're doing our merchant runs. So right out of the gate, I mean, that's what you'd have to expect as a pirate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, you could just take the moment to go ahead and, try to do some pirating, but like if it were me and, the logical thing would be is to A, get organized, B, equip up, and then C, then worry about trying to catch the stragglers who are in the more low security areas rather than being in high security. We're all going to be starting in, the majority of players are going to be starting in high security areas with well within UEE territory. Then I mean, yes, there's going to be starting places for pirates, but as for the pirates, I mean, they're not going to sit there and attack each other right out of the gate, probably. Like Star Wars was saying, it's a whole new world, and at that point, they'll probably be working a little bit together to get some of the PvE side in the low security areas get going, so that they can get equipped up, and
That's true.
and all that.
That would be fun to see all the pirates just kind of like spawn and then grab a knife and stuff, just hacking at each other. Then you got on the other end us, peaceful folks spawn and like, oh, how's your morning
Yeah.
doing?
Top of the morning
Looking
to you.
getting up and that'd be a good comparison.
Just on the topic of spawning, one thing that I think is going to prevent spawn killing is that how you can choose where to put your hangar as your starting point. How it's
Yeah.
going to be, yeah, if you like you probably will get spawn killed if you put it out in some shady part of space.
Yeah.
But say if you got your hangar in on
2 words, Canadian egg, asteroid hangar.
Yes.
yeah, I know, right?
Asteroid
That's what I'm
hangar.
going to have myself, and I'm sure a lot of people are too.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's like like, or you can have it around Terra. I'm sure you're probably not going to get attacked out of the gate, or Earth,
No.
right? Heavily UEE guarded areas. But if you're on like the edge of Vanduul space, you're going to get attacked by pretty much everything.
Yeah. So grab that knife, boys and girls. So cool. Well, that is the hunt. Wraps us up for that. And we're going to move on to the howling session. And once again, I'm going to start us out here. My little call out is going to be pretty much a question to you guys. So here it is. Aside from what CIG is already planning on implementing into the game, what would you like to see them implement in the game? You know, pie in the sky type of attitude. Whatever you want to see in the game, what would you want to see happen? And so, like, just an example, mine would be actual AI, like none of this like scripted NPC. I go to him and I'm basically reading whatever the writer on the other side wrote, in the development department. So I want to see something like, and this is going to sound stupid, okay? But I'll explain myself. Cleverbot. You guys know Cleverbot?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
By this time, it's mental. It's so jacked up from all of the crap that is processed from people just typing junk into it, because the way it works is it learns as it goes. The more stuff we type to Cleverbot, that's going to be in its repertoire to shoot back an answer. So like, people have trolled that thing to death, and so now it's just nonsensical. But something like that, something to where I'm talking to this AI and the AI itself is talking back, trying to construct a meaningful reply to me. That's what I'd love to see in any kind of game, and I think it would work really well in a procedurally generated space. The way they, CGI wants to have this game eventually go to procedurally generated, it'd be awesome to populate it with random people that actually have personality traits and, constructed themselves responses to us. That would be my choice.
That's pretty interesting. I didn't really think too much about using something like Cleverbot. But that's Siri for your Star Citizen experience. That's
okay,
pretty cool.
Good. That'd be good. Something that always messes up what I'm trying to say.
I didn't really think about it if they had like an AI that you could just talk to. I mean, will they have voice? Anyways, that's getting besides the point. I guess for me, I would probably just really like the ability. Here we go with bounty hunting again. I kind of wanted to say this earlier, but just like the ability to track down my bounty, and he happens to be in a bar, to be able to fly down to the surface, get out of my ship, go into the bar, right? I mean, just imagine it. Like, you walk into the bar, the guy looks up at you and he's like, crap, there's a bounty hunter, and then it's like Desperado style, the Antonio Banderas movie, and you both have like this shootout, in the bar as you try to get your bounty.
Yeah.
Kick over the tables.
Yeah, like if you think about it, like the first episode of Cowboy Bebop, that's homage to Desperado, and I would hope it'd be something similar.
Yeah, with the bloody eye dude.
Yeah,
I still haven't
that
watched
was
that.
the one. Yeah, it's good. Watch it after this.
You should definitely.
Yep. So what about you, CanadianEgg?
Well, there's a lot of things I'd like to see implemented, but one thing that I haven't heard anything of, I would like to see, like, if you have a quest or a mission, that it changes on conditions. Like, if you screw up, it'll be like, crap. Like, not just in Squadron 42, we already know that's going to happen. But in scenarios like, say, if you can keep in contact with the NPC that gave you the quest or the player, it'll be, if they want it done a certain way, if you screw up one way, they're not just gonna say, all right, whatever, I'll find someone else to do it. It'll just increase the difficulty of it. It'll be like, okay, well, now you got to go here and do this. Sort of like an assassin. Like, if your mission was to kill somebody and you screwed up, now you gotta hide somewhere and wait for them to come to you, because now they're on the run from you, and so you sort of disguise yourself almost. I don't know, put on some weird Agent 47 outfit, and then wait around for them to come to you.
Yeah, that makes more sense than the way we're used to games treating us in that regard, because usually what a game will do is say you failed the mission. It's like nothing actually ever happened and they give the quest to you again or someone else. So, like, yeah, that would make sense of that for me. So,
Yeah,
that's a good
definitely.
one. So, cool. All right, well, what about you, Drevin? What's your howling session topic?
With the confirmation of the changes to the Idris now being 240 meters rather than 140, and then the announcement of the Javelin Destroyer, which is supposed to be 100 meters longer than the Idris, do you think they will sell the Javelin to players?
I'm sure you have I'm sure you've got an idea of how that's going to happen. I haven't really thought about that one yet, though. So I heard about the Idris, and I was like, 100 more meters? That's
Yeah.
like, what did they add to it? That surprised me, and I think it's actually a good change because the Idris is a big ship. You
Yeah.
know, it's the big ship for us, and so like to have it even bigger, heck yes. Let me have more. Maybe just widen the hangar so we can have more ships docked in there. That would be pretty cool. Multiple gladiators. You know, just send out a fleet of bombers to some place. That
Yeah.
would be pretty sweet. So I'm happy about that. I'm not sure about the other thing though. What about you, Canadian Egg? Do you have anything to say on that?
Well, about the selling of the Javelin, um,
Yeah.
I don't see why they wouldn't. I don't know much about the Javelin. Like, I'm sure it's obviously going to be multi-crew if it's bigger than the Idris. But is it? I'm going to ask you, Drevin, because you obviously know more about the Javelin than I. Is it like a cruiser, or what sort of role does it play?
It's a destroyer.
It's a destroyer. Oh,
Yep.
right. Yeah, but I'm sure it would have some sort of large crew. So I don't think they would sell it on the pledge store, considering they've been sort of keeping those out of single ship packages. The closest thing we have right now is the Constellation, but that's nowhere. That's not even close to a destroyer. So I think no, I don't think they're going to sell it. If they do, it's going to be pretty expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your opinion on it, Drevin? I'm sure you have a opinion on that.
I don't know. I mean, because originally said they wouldn't go much bigger than the Idris for player buyable ships. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then it's like that, and the fact that the Javelin is like I'm assuming this is just my assumption is that the Javelin is what replaced the Idris as far as the military, you know, sizable ship. You know what I mean? That's what I'm
Yeah.
assuming because apparently the Idris is kind of I guess getting replaced. Um, I don't know. I mean, 340 meters is quite a bit of ship.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were saying 140 meters previously was pretty much probably going to be it. Now they're already saying, well, we've already made that 240. So I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe they could hold a ship sale for it, maybe for like a weekend, a very short one, very expensive one. But I don't know. I'm thinking the Javelin might just be something you might have to get, but then I don't think it's big enough where it's something that they wouldn't sell eventually, maybe for a short time. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
To be honest, if it came out on the sale, I'd buy one.
I know it's so tempting,
Like,
and I don't even like that playstyle of ship captain, but it's just like to have such a
I know,
huge piece of metal.
it's sort of just like having it as an option. It just feels
Oh my
good.
goodness.
But yeah, like if it came out, I would totally get one. Like when they finish modeling the other ships, like the Starfare,
Yeah.
Caterpillar,
Yeah.
and Retaliator, they're gonna come out in the pledge store. I'm gonna pick me up those.
Yeah.
They should make it big enough to just like put an Idris inside of that ship. That'd be cool.
The Javelin,
So-
the Idris carrier.
Yeah, they're just. It's like a band of
Little
pirates.
stacking dolls.
A band of pirates, like, oh guys, we got ourselves a javelin. Open up the hangar bay. It just flies out. Let's go home. Like,
It's kind of like those Russian dolls where it's the big
Yeah.
doll. You open it up, there's the little one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because from the Idris, then there's going to come out the Hornets.
Ooh.
So
yeah,
it's like,
it's gonna come out. And it's just, oh man. Just,
Or like shove a constellation in there and then pop out the little Merlin. So that's the last little doll.
yeah, the Javelin
That'd be
constellation
in your
carrier.
Merlin, just like, that's right. You better run now.
That would be funny.
I really like the javelin. I really like the Idris looks. Just something about the javelin, like the initial like concept art, really gives me this feel of like old battleships in like the Gundam series and some of the other space
Yeah,
operas, and it was really visually appealing to
yeah.
me.
It reminds me of the
Looks very Star
and I was
Wars
just gonna
esque.
say it looks like the Republic's like
Yep.
destroyers that eventually turned into the Star Destroyer.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
whole flat diamond shape.
Yeah, and the red
Yep.
too.
yeah. I didn't realize that either.
Yeah, or it could be a Rebel Alliance vessel.
Where were we? Like, what were we talking
We were
We're
about?
talking.
talking about Dreven's topic on the javelin selling and whatnot. That's how we got.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. Okay. All right, we got a little off topic,
Yeah.
but let's get back to it. Canadian, you had our last topic in the hauling session. What's yours?
Mine is play styles. How are you gonna play? How am I gonna play? And how what would be your style of play? Like not in I should be more specific with that. Not play style, fighting style.
Mm.
Say if you like, because even if you are playing a merchant, you're gonna run into combat. When that combat happens, are you gonna be the guy to run and not just outrun the guy? Or are you going
Uh,
to have some sort of, do you have a strategy sort of planned already?
okay, I'll jump in first since I know mine. Um, so Chris Roberts recently, I think on the last 10 for the chairman, mentioned combat and speed in combat, how we're going to have to slow down from our usual space travel speed in order to engage in a dogfighting situation due to the force put on the human frame during a high speed turn. It's just too much to withstand at some of our space traveling speeds. So, in order to compensate, you got to slow down to do that. So, that's why dogfighting is going to be a little bit slower than if you're just going from point A to point B travel. He also said, in line with that, if you wanted to warp out of there, you wanted to just punch it, Chewy, and go in a straight line out of there, out of the battle, the other guy can follow behind you. And now, since your computer systems say you can't make sudden turns anymore, because if you do, your head's going to be splattered across the display screen. So you're pretty much stuck in a very thin one track lane. So when that happens, the other guy could just trail you and shoot missiles and lasers at you, and you're just a sitting target there because you can't make those turns to shake that fire. Before I heard that, I was originally thinking, well, why don't you just go park behind an asteroid, get out of the way of, immediate fire, and then just kind of warp it out of there. Well, that's might be a bad idea at this point now because they could just trail you and just easy pickings, just shoot you down. So that ruined my idea there. I think you might have to engage, or maybe you would be close to a planet, moon, asteroids, or whatever, where you can weave in and out of places, get reasonably lost, and then go ahead and warp when you have him shook off your tail. But out in the dead of space, you might have to engage at that point, unless you want to risk being an easy target when you start flying out of there at high speeds. So
What
Well,
about
that's
ships with
my.
artificial gravity?
well,
Yeah, that's something that that's in lore, like the whole inertial dampeners effect. But I don't know how they're doing that particular aspect in Star Citizen because it sounds like we don't have inertial dampeners.
well, um, I mean, I would assume if you're going to be doing any kind of maneuvering, I mean, everybody's going to want to get strapped down, or if you're trying to warp, you're probably going to want to get strapped down. But another thing he didn't touch on though is that they did confirm you're going to have countermeasures. So technically, if you set up your ship right and you have enough countermeasures to thwart off the enemy, possibly like some kind of like chaff, or like maybe they'll have
EMP blast.
yeah, something like that where it could disable him. But who knows? Me personally, I'm probably See, I don't know how the PvP slider works for when you're in a group. Like, say, I'm escorting someone and they're doing the merchant. Like, I don't know how the system will matchmake with that. But if I'm off by myself, I'm probably gonna have it all the way on PvP just because I'd like the challenge, and then I'd be the person that fights until the end, probably.
Yeah.
I would probably, yeah, I would initially fight, but well, it depends on what kind of mood I'm in. If I just kind of want to get where I'm trying to get to, my plan would be like I know I've said this before is get really good at the jump points, flying them manually, and then so I would just go to the nearest jump point as fast as I can and take off, warp somewhere. But most of the time, yeah, I would fight. If it's not going so well, there's a possibility that I would call it quits and just go, all right, yeah, I'm going back to Earth.
Yeah, for me, it's totally circumstantial based on my mood and the circumstances. It would really depend on if I'm going to fight or jump ship, type of thing. So, well, thanks for the topics and questions, Canadian and Drevin. Really appreciate it. And thank you, viewers, for tuning in to the Wolfpack this week. That wraps us up. And next week we're probably going to have a guest. That's our plan. So we're going to just try that out and see how it goes. Hopefully you guys like them. It's really just a viewer and that said, hey, want to be on the show. And I said, what the heck? So if you do want to be on the show, I'll have my email address in there. And, we're going to have to see if it works. I just thought it would be a cool thing, an interactive thing we can do with viewers. But if it doesn't work, then maybe we won't do too much of those. But yeah, testing the waters. All right, so I have been your host, Star Wolf, and Drevin, Canadian Egg.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And we'll see you guys next time.